So, Michael, as you know, The Little Mermaid has already been released, the 2023 version, starring Halle Berry, David Diggs, and also Awkwafina, or is it just Aquafina? I'm not sure. And yes, Disney uploaded all their songs onto their YouTube channel, obviously audio only. And yes, so I'm going to play a bit of Aquafina's song. And the thing is, I saw this on Twitter, and many people were criticising it because Aquafina's voice apparently was annoying, and she already has received hate for doing a blaccent. Do you know what a blaccent is?
Oh, okay. So, like, I guess it's just like kind of a fake, like a ghetto accent.
Well, yeah, not necessarily ghetto, you racist.
Oh, I thought, I know, who's the Australian rapper, Iggy Azalea. That's like a classic example.
Yeah. But she is Asian, of course, not black.
Yes.
But yeah, so, but the thing is, people were criticising this song for being quite annoying, or her voice for being annoying. So let's see if you agree with that, Michael.
Okay, I'm excited. Kind of guitar-y.
She plays the seagull.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. And so this isn't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we probably don't want to play it too long because I'm sure the Disney people love to do the copyright.
Honestly,
so that's a real song. You're not joshing me here. You've not like found some random SNL skit or something.
Describe what you heard, Michael.
I would say that it was very annoying. Okay. I mean, it kind of felt a bit like it was trying to be groovy and down with the kids, which added another level of annoyance to it. I mean, to be fair, I will say, like, obviously, it's not unheard of for cartoon characters to have, like, annoying voices. There's this guy called Gilbert Gottfried.
This one's very annoying. Does Gilbert Gottfried... does Gilbert Gottfried perform a song in Aladdin? Maybe, actually, I can't remember.
I don't know, he doesn't.
The thing is, this was composed by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, so good.
It's interesting to hear you say, it's trying to be groovy down with the kids, like that desperation, that kind of like half rap. And we're going to go through the Rotten Tomatoes score of that at the end.
Oh, okay, let's see.
But now it's time to review another film with a fat, annoying, and Asian character. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Luke. And this week, we are celebrating the release of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse by looking at another Spider-Man film about different realities, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. We've already done Spider-Man Into the Multiverse, or whatever it was called, the other one. Wow, no. Let me get this right. To help you and the listeners, it was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That was the movie that came out in 2018, and we already reviewed that because it won Best Animated Film at the 2019 Oscars. Yes,
which is a good reason to review it. But with that said, so we're doing this film instead, but it's still very thematically appropriate. It's a very fitting substitute. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yes, like you said, we've already done Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so what's another movie we could do that fits into the theme? Because this new movie is called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What's another Spider-Man movie we can do which fits into this theme of Spider-Man, and multiverses, etc.? How about Spider-Man No Way Home? And of course, we have already reviewed Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man Homecoming. The two other movies in this home.
Yes.
I guess it's a home trilogy. That's what it is. I guess the home saga.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, Spider-Man: No Way Home is a 2021 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Spider-Man, co-produced by Columbia Pictures and Marvel Studios. And here is the crucial thing, Michael. Who was it distributed by?
Sony.
Yes, Sony. Because if you remember, before this, I think there was Sony and Marvel ended their agreement.
Yeah, there was a ruckus.
Yeah, and then when there was a fan backlash, it's like, there's going to be no more Tom Holland Spider-Man. Sony were like, you know what? Okay, fine. Nobody's going to watch our shitty standalone Spider-Man movie unless it's in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had to pair up with Marvel once more. But yeah, it is the sequel to Spider-Man: Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, and it is the what film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Michael?
It is the oh god, this would be useful if I can remember all the other ones were. So I think this is probably the 26th.
Oh, so close. Oh, so close.
Wow.
It's the 27th.
Oh god, that's interesting because of course the 26th would therefore be the Eternals, which we have reviewed. So
yeah,
if I would have got I don't remember. So you've probably told me the Eternals was the 26th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Hey, I know it was a while ago. Don't worry. But yeah, I think it's interesting how the MCU post Endgame and after the start of the COVID pandemic, it has these really bad movies like Eternals and, for instance, Ant-Man, and then you have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which again was a very well reviewed movie, and then once again this Spider-Man No Way Home, which came after Eternals. So yeah, it is a bit of a rollercoaster ride with the MCU, and most of the time I'd say
hit or miss, they say.
Yeah, most of the time I'd say it's pretty poor, but sometimes it's quite decent. And I think, maybe this movie is one of those movies. But anyway, let's go through the starring Michael. Firstly, who this movie was directed by, of course. John Watts, written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, and stars Tom Holland, Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jacob Batalon, Jon Favreau. Sorry, did I say that wrong?
Yeah, you did. You misspoke, you fool.
Jamie Foxx, William Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Benedict Wong. How can I make that funny? Tony Revolori.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, Marissa Tomei. Wait, what's this? Marissa Tomei, and then after Marissa Tomei, we have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
What a scandal!
What? How could this be? Yeah, I would love it if someone didn't know these two appeared in this movie, and they were looking in the Wikipedia page, just to, and I don't know, see something about it, like, oh, who directed this movie, and then they looked at the starring, and it's like Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and that spoils it for them. But yeah. So anyway, the movie was released on December the 13th, 2021. In Fox Village Theatre, and December the 17th, 2021 in the United States. So yeah, about 1.5 years ago. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yes, it was 220 million.
Okay, you know what? You were close. It's just 200. That is the safe guess, 200 million. But what about the box office, Michael? How much did this make?
Oh, that's an interesting one. So, in general, these Marvel films, they do pretty good.
Do you remember anything about the release of this?
I think there was more hype than there would be for most of the other films in this multiverse saga, as they're apparently calling it. So that's my memory of it. It seemed like it was pretty hyped. How much that translates to in terms of money?
Guess.
Oh, I'm not going to go as high as $1 billion. I'm going to go. Okay. There we go.
You know what? I had to refrain myself then. No, you're getting your mark.
Let's see. So I'm gonna go for a cool 400 million. Yeah, I think I might as well. Seeing as I'm already getting a mark, I might as well.
What were you going to say?
I would have said. I would have said 800 million, which is way lower than.
How about 1.9 billion?
That's quite a lot of money.
Do you not remember this being an absolute phenomenon? It had a better start than Infinity War, for instance. I saw that. Do you not remember this just blitzing everything?
I feel like I don't pay enough attention to the Marvel movies.
I don't think you pay enough attention to anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the 5th highest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think, we will talk about what, of course, famously Martin Scorsese said that Marvel movies are like theme parks.
That's really funny. Oh my god, it's so funny that you've taken the wind out of my sails with regards to my initial thoughts on the film. You won't be surprised to hear.
Well, yeah, again, so theme park rides are fun though. That's the thing.
Yes, yeah.
I think that is why this movie did so well, because it is fun and it's like your fan fiction kind of come to life almost. And I think in terms of hype, of course, a lot of people were very, excited to see all these Marvel characters come together in Infinity War. All of them interacting together. It's all the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to meet, I don't know, Tony Stark or whatever. That'll be cool to see. This though, again, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Peter Parker. Peter Parker and Tom Holland.
Wow.
All as Peter Parker, and they're all back, and oh my god, it'll be incredible to see them as Spider-Man again, but to see them all in the same movie, and of course they're from different franchises as well.
It almost barely. It doesn't feel that much like a movie. It does feel like it's very, let's say, and I know this is a word that has a negative association, but I have to use the word gimmick because it does, it's very kind of gimmick centric. I'm
not sure it's bigger than a gimmick though, because
It's like they really commit to it.
Yeah, they really commit to it, and it's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah. So I mean, like, yeah, again, yeah. So the thing is, like, I did like it, but it's such a weird movie, just in general.
Look, the first time I watched this, it was over a year ago, and I remember thinking, well, this isn't that great in terms of filmmaking. Like, it's not like an incredible movie. There's nothing special about this, but it was just so fucking fun to watch. Like, especially, of course, the second half when, you know, all the Spider-Men show up, Garfield and Maguire. It's like, this is incredible what I'm watching. It's so fun. You just have a smile on your face. And yeah, like Martin Scorsese, of course, his criticism of Marvel movies, they're like theme park rides. This is the best example of that.
Yes.
You know what? Sometimes it's okay to go on a theme park ride. Sometimes it's okay. Like, cinema or movies don't have to all be this. I mean, of course, on our channel, we review tons of movies, and our favourite movies are not Marvel movies.
Yeah.
We often heavily criticise Marvel movies, and we really like, you know, the movies that, you know, often are nominated for Oscars. You know, we prefer that. We think they're better. But that's the thing, you can watch this and you can enjoy it with it, and you can have a smile on your face. That is absolutely fine. Like, sometimes if a movie does that to you, that is perfectly acceptable. And I didn't.
You are seen and you are valid.
I didn't see it in a cinema, but I can imagine if you did see it in a cinema, that must have been an incredible experience. And
or a very annoying experience. Depends on the kind of person you are. Maybe you would have had like all the fans like hollering all the time. You couldn't pay attention to anything.
But I think if you go to a cinema, you know what's going to happen. So you know what to expect. So if you're going, you're looking forward to having the crowd with you, and, you know, their reactions and their like applause. To be in that environment and experience that, that's fine. Like, it would be awful if cinema was like that all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just very, like, it's just, imagine like a few years ago you'd say to someone, oh yeah, there's going to be a movie released where Tom Holland, you know, back when he first started being Spider-Man, is going to team up with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and, you know, and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. You thought, that's crazy. That's never going to happen. That's such a wild idea. And, you know, I think that's what particularly Marvel has capitalized on with these MCU movies. They understand that people like want to see like this fan fiction up on screen, as long as they don't saturate the market, which unfortunately they kind of have done, and like, churn them out like they're factory produced movies, which they are. That's what they are. They're factory produced movies. Then I have a problem with it. But every once in a while you have a movie like this, and it's just really fun. I don't have a problem with that. And yeah, so again, it's not a great movie, but it's a really fucking fun time. And so that is perfectly fine, and you do not have to feel guilty about enjoying that.
Yes. No, I would agree. Like, I wouldn't say this movie's a guilty pleasure. But yeah, I think like there's you know, I guess, I kind of agree with you, the whole thing about like, it's not the kind of movie, it shouldn't set the standard for movies, you know, but yeah, definitely. It's interesting because obviously, like, I think, you know, Marvel in general, like, I've not really liked I feel like my main criticism of Marvel has always been that the bigness of it often takes away from some of the character stuff. So, I mean, obviously, seeing as this film literally has the Tobey Maguire in it, I prefer, obviously, the kind of Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans to a lot of the MCU superhero movies, because the Sam Raimi Spider-Man feels more intimate and personal, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, these kind of massive, big, gimmicky things often almost inevitably contradict that kind of intimate, personal thing, which means on balance, I would say I prefer the intimate, personal thing. But I guess like with this film, it's good compared to so many other MCU things, because it's like, if they're going to have this situation where, you know, like, because comic books are ridiculous. Like, the fact you have, like, the Hulk fighting terrorists with, like, Iron Man, like, everything going on, and then there's, like, an Asgardian Norse god and all that kind of stuff. So, in a way, like, if it's ridiculous and boring, it's just annoying, and that's, like, obviously Thor the Dark World and things like that. So it's like, if it's going to necessarily be ridiculous, it might as well be really entertaining. That is good.
I think that's the thing. Comic books, in the past, you know, you have the Hulk teaming up with Spider-Man or Thor or whatever, and all this teaming up, and it's like, wow, I imagine if you're reading a comic book, you're like, I can go into this world and let my imagination run wild, you know. And I think Marvel realized, hey, why don't we take that feeling and put that up on the big screen, like people's imaginations, again, I use this term again, fan fiction, like, and make that a reality, and people will love that, because, you know, people want that escapism, because it is pure escapism, this movie, and people will go to see it. And as long as it's done well, which I think it is in this movie, they really do nail a lot of things because it could have gone badly, of course it could have gone badly, but they did a competent job with it, and that's all they really needed to do. And I think maybe above competent, honestly. But whatever. Let's get into nitpicks, Michael. How many do you have?
I just have one.
Okay, I have one as well. You go first.
I wrote, wouldn't it be funny if when Zendaya was introduced as MJ, Dr. Octopus went on a racist rant about how Kirsten Dunst was much prettier and the woke left is trying to force diversity down our throats? Which, to be honest, like, you can tell I wrote that really early on because it's kind of like one of those situations where, like, obviously that's like a joke about just like the fact that he exists in like it's kind of like a meta joke and all that kind of stuff. And in hindsight, considering how much the film does lean into like meta stuff,
that would be
it's
funny.
like it's kind of just like well, that's almost like a quaint little idea from me.
What if he said, the Peter from my universe only had white friends?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at you. You've got.
The Peter from my universe lived in New York, but he didn't know any black people.
I know. That's how it was back then. Friends as well. Sitcom from back then. No black people in Friends, of course.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Even though it's set in New York. But anyway, so nitpicks, Michael. For me, the CGI, and this is the real issue, I think, with No Way Home, the real thing that people cotton onto. The CGI is awful. And, of course, the character of Flash Thompson, the bully who wants to be friends with Peter when he finds out he's Spider-Man, writes a book.
Yes.
When he finds out Peter's Spider-Man while he's on his phone, the background, of course, looks incredibly fake. It is really bad CGI. The car behind him just looks like a PS2 car, basically. And also, when he's at the college party, when Peter calls him up.
Yeah.
That, again, it looks very fake because it is. It's just a green screen.
Yeah.
I think there might have been some COVID issues with that, but it just those two moments are like, oh yeah, that's really bad in a movie that cost $200 million.
Yeah. I think it's interesting in terms of like obviously the movie in some ways feeling not like a very typical movie, because at some points this movie almost felt like it was like a sketch. Like a sketch you'd see on, I don't know, like a YouTube channel where it's like, oh, what if all the Spider-Men met each other? And I feel like the fact that the production value was actually quite low, noticeably at certain points, kind of contributed to that, because there were several points where I thought to myself like, and obviously part of it comes from the fact it's very kind of jokey, but I think the production value as well made me feel like I'm watching a YouTube sketch called, what if all the Spider-Men met each other?
Yes, no, I mean, I get that, but again, that's why it is quite fun, and I think those scenes are executed well. So, I think that's...
Some might say the terrible CGI is charming, not me though.
So, and that's the thing, so it kind of makes you forget the CGI to some extent, but it is... now that's what they're hoping for, and I guess they kind of pulled it off, because again, it's a nitpick for me, really, and nothing more. But anyway, so let's get into this movie. So Peter Parker asks Dr. Stephen Strange to use magic to make his identity as Spider-Man a secret again, following its public revelation at the end of Far From Home. It's all an excuse to get Spider-Man to show up. All three Spider-Man to show up. Yeah,
Spider-Men to show up.
The Spider-Man, yeah. That's the thing. I do wonder when they had this idea of putting all these Spider-Men together. And yeah, of course,
do you think and I don't know, like I'd be interested to know, because I don't know anything about movies. Do you think that like the success of the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, actually had something to do with it? Would that work out timeline wise? Like maybe they were like, oh, hey, isn't it interesting to put all these Spider-Men together? We could do a live action version of that, because I mean Spider-Man's been famously rebooted.
Yeah, I think
often.
that could be the case.
I want them to do it with Batman too. There's oh wait, Adam West is dead, but there's still quite a few.
Well, that's what they're doing with the Flash movie.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, have you not seen the trailer?
Oh no, I haven't. So yeah, because like I know that like
I
know, yeah. So the recent the Netflix Flash is like he's a different Flash, right? Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, and because I think I saw like a thing on Twitter about like the Flash is leaving, and it was like some kind of scene of him like packing up, and it's like supposed to be his.
That's from the TV series. Yes.
Yeah.
So this new Flash movie features a female Superwoman, Superwoman, and Michael Keaton's Batman. And it's because this guy can go back in time and go to different universes.
Oh my god, they all just they're fucking cannibalizing each other.
Well, they're just copying Marvel. That's what they're doing.
I say each other actually. Yeah, it's mostly DC doing the cannibalizing.
Yeah, DC saw the success of No Way Home and like, oh yeah, let's bring back Michael Keaton. That's what we can bring back. Basically, I'm just looking at the production and basically the idea introduced Dr. Stephen Strange into the story, and then the multiverse was swung around as an idea, and they thought it would be a nice tease for fans, but ultimately decided to fully integrate the past characters into the plot instead of just making it a tease, which I think was the correct decision. I mean, it made the movie better. And the involvement of both actors was subject, this is Garfield and Maguire, to wide speculation and numerous leaks, despite the efforts of Sony, Marvel, and the cast to conceal their involvement.
Yeah.
And they kind of did that. I remember a Garfield interview where he was like, no, they didn't ask me. They didn't ask me and I'm not in it, so what can you do?
Yeah, to be honest, so again, this is going to be another me living under a rock, but I'm kind of glad I did, because I didn't really know that. I knew about this film, like, and it introduced things and all that, like introduced the whole parallel dimension thing. I kind of was assuming they wouldn't have done anything to do with the Amazing Spider-Man, because I know the Amazing Spider-Man was not really as well received because the movies weren't as good.
But people like Garfield.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. Yeah. So kind of, I was thinking like, oh, I like Andrew Garfield, and yes, I didn't know he was going to be in it, and was pleasantly surprised to see him appear.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual movie now. So of course it starts off Quentin Beck, remember Mysterio?
Yes.
He frames Peter for his murder and reveals his identity as Spider-Man. And MJ and Ned and Aunt May are interrogated by the Department of Damage Control. So this is trying to make me remember stuff from Far From Home, which is not what I want.
If only I had watched it literally the day before.
Oh, good.
No, yeah. So the continuity for me, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm fully on this.
I had not. So I just remember I did not like Far From Home. Indeed, I'm looking at what I gave it out of 10. I gave it a 4.5 out of 10.
No, yeah. I mean, well, it is. I kind of for some reason wasn't really expecting it to. I wasn't really sure, because. So obviously I would have remembered anyway, at the end of Far From Home, like J. Jonah, the identity of Peter Parker gets revealed, and I was thinking to myself, that's weird as a thing to introduce, because Marvel, as I've already said, doesn't really do the whole like personal kind of situation thing anything like as much as, because obviously most like secret identities aren't really a thing in the Marvel universe. So I was like, how, what are they going to do with this, like, oh, his identity's been revealed situation? Because is that even a big deal? And of course the answer is, well, they used it as a jumping off point for this whole parallel dimension thing.
Yeah. Also, what is important is that he is alleged to have killed Mysterio.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah.
So yeah, he is alleged to have killed Mysterio, which is why his identity being revealed is an issue, because the court of public opinion, as Matt Murdock says, is what really hurts him. But anyway, so the Daily Bugle, this Infowars style outlet. I don't know why they're all over New York City, because the Infowars would not be. But
do you find it funny that, like, I guess it makes sense. So obviously, like, J. Jonah Jameson is in this film as, but that's nothing to do with. So it's kind of weird that they have all of the other actors being there because of the parallel dimension thing, but he's also there, but that's not to do with the parallel dimension thing, I guess, apart from just the fact that maybe there's a J. Jonah Jameson in every dimension.
Maybe.
And that makes me think I would love to see a film where all of the J. Jonah Jamesons come together and they're all played by J.K. Simmons.
You know what? That's a good
idea. That would be great. I just like, damn it, I want more pictures of Spider-Man. You want pictures of Spider-Man. Oh, great.
Yeah, I know. We can't wait for that. Yeah, send that over to Marvel right away, that script.
Yes.
Also, I just have to say, given the tech in the universe, like, that could have been faked, right? Quentin Beck could have been a hologram, because I remember that from Far From Home. And
that's it. Yeah, like the whole AI thing, like nowadays is confusing. It'll be even more of a disaster in this world.
And of course, the Bugle is, considering it's like Infowars, how many people would actually trust what they said?
That's actually a good point. Yeah, as a parody, it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, but anyway, so lawyer Matt Murdock gets Peter's charges dropped, but the group grapples with negative publicity. You know what? It shouldn't have been the guy for the Daredevil series playing Matt Murdock. It should have been Ben Affleck instead. I want Ben Affleck to be this guy. Do you think that would have been better?
Yeah. I thought that was.
I am joking, actually.
Sorry, no. Yeah, I do get you. But no, yeah. I mean, it would have been funny if, like, I don't know. Like, in a way, I'm almost thinking, like, oh, imagine how much they could have committed to this whole thingy. But what I found funny is what I was saying was, it was more of a year of recognition just at the fact that they have, like, Daredevil in there, and I was like, oh, that's Daredevil, right?
You know what? What was interesting is that actor, I don't know who he is, he went to see the movie, and he was expecting, like, a cheer when he appeared on screen, and he was with his wife, I think, and just nobody cheered.
That's quite funny.
But anyway, I do want to know, like, because of course the Department of Damage Control or whatever is interrogating Peter, and Matt Murdock just comes in and is like, yeah, all of these charges have been dropped. When they all seemed pretty serious, And again,
Yeah.
the movie, it sure does skip over that, so it can just continue with the main story, I think. It doesn't really want to dwell on that. Yeah.
It almost like, I will say, if I was to put on my criticism cap, I feel like actually the beginning of the film probably could have been cut down a bit, considering like...
Well, I don't know why you needed this damage control thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Because you could have just had it so like he gets his... they didn't even need to have like, it could have... Or like, if they were going to have the reveal that like there's no charges, why even bother with all the interrogation scene? You could just have it so it's like, well, there's no like legal evidence, but a lot of like just have that as like a scene like within the first 5 minutes.
He's just been hassled by reporters instead, And
that would be better. Yeah,
he'd been dragged through the tabloids, and I mean, look, he did murder someone. That's what he's accused of, murdering someone, and maybe there are other legal issues with that. It seems like the charges wouldn't just get dropped, but whatever. Anyway, maybe Matt Murdock's a great lawyer, but we know from the 2003 version of Daredevil he isn't. He has to kill people. That's the only way he can.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe he just killed everybody who was trying to charge them.
Prosecute. Yeah. So after Parker, MJ, and Ned's MIT applications are rejected, Parker goes to New York, the New York Sanctum, to ask Strange for help. Okay, so this is the bullshit thing that Marvel do, and again, I really didn't like the opening to this movie because it is the same old Marvel shit, which I just hate, and to be fair, DC stuff as well. Like in general, the standard of superhero writing is not good because it really doesn't have to be. Maybe we're seeing a change in that now in 2023, but yeah, I just hate this Marvel stuff when they like to have these superheroes who are famous, famous throughout the world. They like to have them have the same problems as regular day people. Captain America, right? The Falcon guy. So he's Falcon, right? And in Falcon and
Sam, is his name Sam?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Falcon guy, the new Captain America, whatever, he can't get a bank loan apparently, even though he's a fucking Avenger. And it's the same thing with Peter. Like the charges have been dropped against him. He is Spider-Man, a guy who saved the universe. He's an Avenger. So I would think every college would be lining up to take him.
Yeah.
And also, all the donors or the boosters of the college, I think they would be happy, to admit him just so they could meet Spider-Man, So I think it's ridiculous that in general that MIT or any college would reject him.
Yes, so I wrote as a note, do the Avengers just not exist at all? Is there nobody who can vouch for him? Which is kind of like, because obviously, again, I've not been paying attention to much of like the rest of the MCU films going on, but obviously, it feels very confusing when, you're kind of used to the standard set by the Infinity Saga, where basically the Avengers are generally quite liked. They're, friends with the government, all that kind of stuff. And it feels like, well, this whole thing wouldn't have happened back then. And I know obviously that some of the Avengers have died and, things have happened. But yeah, I would tend to assume that, well, surely he still has that goodwill from being an Avenger. And, he would basically have the government on his side.
Yeah.
And of course, I agree with you as well that it seems like universities would, 100% be like, oh yeah, we want to be the people who educated an Avenger. That sounds great.
This guy is part of a group called Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Like, I'm sorry, you do not have the same problems as normal people. Like, certainly not this contrived nonsense of like, because of the bad publicity, or like it's that is the word. It's contrived, and again, it's not even like he has the same problems as normal people. Like, if he did have the same problems as normal people, they should be able to go away like that. But
it's like when comedians try to they become like super rich and successful, but they still try to do like regular Joe observational comedy.
Yeah, that is
just, I can't believe it anymore.
Yeah, I can't believe that he would have trouble getting into MIT when he's again a fucking Avenger.
And he's a genius.
Yes, and a genius. Like, look, they need an excuse for Doctor Strange to create a multiverse split or whatever. But please come up with a better reason than this. Just please do that. That's all I'm asking. But anyway, so Strange, he casts the spell that would make everyone forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But it's corrupted when Peter requests alterations to let his loved ones retain their memories, ultimately causing Strange to contain the spell to stop it. Again, the word that comes to mind is contrived once more.
Yeah.
Peter and Doctor Strange, they should have gone over this beforehand. Peter keeps changing things and it's just so ridiculous. For two very smart guys, they sure managed to fuck it up.
Yes.
And it's just not that believable. And you got to write a better thing than this. It just seems quite lazy,
Yeah. So I'm kind of inclined to agree. When all of this was going on, I was thinking, it's pretty dumb. I thought it was quite. It's very weird how vanilla the opening conflict is, and it's very strange how strange that it's literally almost like just the fact that incompetence is the main motivating force for the plot. It's not very good.
Yeah, that's just not really satisfying. Again, the setup to get to all these villains and the Spider-Man in Tom Holland's universe, is not good. But when they're there, it's good. It's just the setup is quite poor. So anyway, at Strange's suggestion, Parker tries to convince an MIT administrator to reconsider their applications of Ned and MJ as well, but is attacked by Otto Octavius. I like how Peter brings out the Iron Spider to fight Otto. I like that. That's, of course, because he's got his tentacles and, he's got his spider legs. And, we've seen that before. So, I like that. But, of course, Otto Octavius, Michael, he is from the original Spider-Man franchise 20 years ago. How is he?
Is he?
How is he in this movie?
Why does he look older?
Of course, the trailer kind of spoiled it. They spoiled that. So it's not that surprising. But in general, of course, like we said, it's just a really fun idea to have characters from Spider-Man's past movies in this one. But there is an issue of he looks like 20 years older. Maybe not 20 years, maybe like 10.
Yeah. So there is no explanation really for that. But I do agree. Like having the villain shop. I think like one of the reasons why it's good is because I've always thought to myself. The problem with the superhero things is that if you want to like introduce a lot of villains, then you either have to like introduce them one at a time, in which case it feels kind of dumb because it's like, well, are they just waiting in line to be introduced, or you have to have like loads of them all appear at once. So that's basically the double bind you're in. So having it here, where like actually all of these villains are introduced, or all these villains show up who have already been introduced, who we already know, is like kind of a really shrewd move. Because it's basically, how like DC, their big problem is they didn't do the groundwork with kind of setting up the origins, and they jump straight into like the Justice League and all that. This movie basically uses the groundwork already established by previous franchises or previous, iterations of the franchise. So it's like Dr. Octopus shows up. You never had a Marvel movie about him, or, an MCU movie about him, but we know who he is, and he's this well-established villain. It's like great.
No, you're right. It is great. Just you have to have seen Spider-Man 2. Otherwise, it'll be a bit confusing. But again, I think most people would have.
Yeah. Well, I like this movie because I assume it punked on the kids.
Yes,
and that's important.
So Octavius rips nanotechnology from Peter's spider suit, which bonds with his mechanical tentacles and allows Peter to control them. Norman Osborn arrives and attacks them, and Strange teleports Parker back to the Sanctum and and then locks Octavius in the cell next to Curt Connors. Strange explains that the corrupted spell summoned people from other universes within the multiverse who know Spider-Man's identity. He orders Parker, MJ, and Ned to find and capture them. So again, you need all the contrived stuff to set up the scenario, but it is an inherently fun scenario, and you can have the villains, talking to each other, and you have to nail these moments that you create with this premise. Otherwise, what's the point? And there are some bits I was like, I'm not so sure, like laughing at Otto Octavius's name.
I thought like there were some like kind of wink, nudge, nudge.
That's classic Marvel meta humor, which Sam Raimi would never do because it's very earnest. Those movies are very earnest. This, of course, it's not that these kind of Marvel movies, and obviously, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Yes, so the amount of memes in this movie, and like
I think it's fine as one line, but it's like, okay, don't do too much with that, and thankfully they did not do that.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's really funny because do you know does pizza time mean anything to you as a meme?
Yes.
Okay. So I watched when I watched Spider-Man Far From Home, I actually watched it with the subtitles on, and there's a bit when they're in Italy and they take a group selfie and they say pizza, and I think Flash says pizza time, and I was like, oh, holy shit, that's like actually, and I'm gonna compliment Spider-Man Far From Home, but in a very minor way. This probably would have been a lit pick if I would have noticed it at the time. But I was like, oh, that's like a nice little reference. They're in Italy, it makes sense they'd say pizza because Italy, but also pizza time. It's like a funny little reference to that meme. Obviously, I guess that was a very small taste of what was to come in this film, because I agree with you, like they didn't, they could have gone way further with it, but we're like, I don't know, I would say all told, there were probably quite a few. I would say there were probably at least like, I almost want to say like half a dozen memes, but I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It seemed like there were quite a few.
Yeah, I think in general it shows these interactions with the villains. The dialogue is often good. It shows why the premise is a great idea, I don't know why Strange doesn't help Peter though, because it seemed kind of dangerous. But whatever, that's maybe a small nitpick actually. But so Osborn, he reclaims control of himself from his split with the Green Goblin and destroys the Goblin mask. I guess being in a new universe shook him out of it, maybe, I'm not sure. But he goes to the feast building where May comforts him before Peter retrieves him. While discussing their battles with Spider-Man, Osborn, Octavius, and Dylan realize they were pulled from the universes just before their deaths. So the thing is, Norman, of course, is in distress. He realizes Peter, he will send all of these people to their deaths if he sends them back to their universe, and I guess is inspired by Aunt May to try and fix them.
Yeah.
And I guess it doesn't make sense why they're pulled to this universe just before their deaths. Like, in general, in with the logic of what's going on in this movie, I guess, there is no logic really with all this multiverse bullshit, but, why are they pulled into this universe just before their deaths?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it makes sense for the plots as to why they are in this universe, because of course some of them are dead. Why would they be back in this movie? So they have to give a reason like that, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense overall.
I have a question about this. I want to know if I've just missed something. So, like, the whole thing is that if they're sent back to this universe, or sent back to their own universe, they will die because they were in the middle of dying when they were taken to, that's basically logic. And that's why he doesn't want to send them back to his universe. But then his big thing is trying to reform them and make them not evil.
Yes.
And this is my point of confusion. Why does him reforming them and making them not evil cause them to not die when they're sent back to their universe?
So I imagine they just stop being evil. Like, for instance, like the Green Goblin, obviously you remember when he killed Tobey Maguire, or tried to.
Yeah, he kills himself with his own glider.
Yeah, so right before he dies, maybe he didn't,
Because he wasn't. So basically the logic being that the only reason why they died is because of their own evilness, therefore, which,
if you take
I guess,
out
like,
a second before they die, then, like, hopefully that'll save them because Peter Parker, he's a good guy, he's just not going to kill them. They may get locked up or put in jail, I don't know, but like at least they're not going to die and they're going to be good again, I guess.
Yeah, you know what I feel sorry for? The guy who killed Uncle Ben in the first one. He died, and he doesn't get a second chance because I would like it if it was just like all the superheroes, and it was the random guy. It's like, what are you here for? He's like, oh, I robbed a wrestling match.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah, that Peter's Spider-Man.
He doesn't know that he is Peter Parker because Spider-Man didn't exist when he died. But the thing is, Electro doesn't know that either, actually.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was confused because I was thinking, I'm sure some of these people don't know that.
No, I think only Electro.
It's only Electro, okay.
Yeah, I think everyone else knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But anyway, so Peter argues that they should first cure the villains of the insanity that would lead to their deaths to possibly change their fates.
Okay, yeah.
And Strange, what do you mean, okay, yeah, did you not watch the movie?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, so it's just reiterating what you said about how, curing them. Yeah, I got that.
So Strange refuses, and Peter steals the spell and traps Strange in the mirror dimension. So yeah, this is the cool fight scene in the mirror dimension, which I remember seeing a lot of in the trailer, and people were like, oh yeah, they're going to be in this like mirror dimension for like 2 minutes. And indeed, that was the case. But yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, because I was actually thinking it would be the opposite, which is maybe showing that, again, I don't appreciate the fact that movies are expensive. Yeah. But in my head, I was actually, when I knew it was called, like, No Way Home, and I knew it was about, like, multiple universes, I assumed it was going to be about him traveling through all sorts of different dimensions and, all that kind of stuff. And I was actually thinking, oh, that sounds kind of tedious. So I was actually kind of relieved when it was actually just in New York the whole time, basically.
Yeah. It's like, I guess it's kind of a misleading title, but of course it makes for a better movie. It's like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and he's in like two universes. So technically,
really, I didn't see. Yeah, I haven't seen that film, but that's kind of funny because again, I was assuming that film would also be all over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of not. Yeah, but anyway, so the mirror dimension, it's Doctor Strange's domain until Peter figures out it's just math and then beats Doctor Strange. Very easy, very
he's
underwhelming.
Such a nerd.
Yeah, just he is a nerd, isn't he? But I love that. It's like, oh yeah, that you can't defeat Doctor Strange in here. A very powerful superhero. Oh wait, yes you can. Quite simply. Anyway, right. So Peter with Aunt May takes the villains to Happy Hogan's apartment, where he uses Stark Industries technology to cure Octavius. Okay, so all of this means, again, you have the villains, talking to each other. You got some meta humor with Jamie Foxx saying, you've got to be careful where you fall.
Yeah, because they both rise to just die from falling and stuff.
Again, that's the kind of the funny meta humor which these Marvel movies are known for, and it makes sense to employ it in this movie. So I'm fine with that. But yeah, I was thinking as well, Octavius, of course. The thing is, he had his character arc end in a good way at the end of his movie Spider-Man 2. And he didn't really need to be cured because, of course, he was cured at the end of that movie and he sacrificed himself. So, yeah, he didn't really need to be saved. Really, I mean, he's alive, so I guess that's beneficial to him. But like, he already had his character arc end in a good way. But yeah, I guess Alfred Molina is great, and Otto Octavius is a great character, so I'm fine with them being brought back.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, logic. I think we've already said like this is an unapologetic. You don't look for logic in your theme park rides.
Yes.
No. Yeah. So yeah, I would agree.
Yes.
To be honest, I haven't seen the Sam Raimi. I haven't rewatched the Sam Raimi films in a while. That's something else I've got to do.
It's very good. It's a fucking.
And I've never actually seen the Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though it's like bad and maybe possibly entertainingly. Is it entertainingly bad at all?
I wouldn't really say so. It's just I think there's a lot of boring scenes. Honestly,
okay, that's no good.
I remember when I watched it, I thought like it's just very standard stuff. It's like if you elongated like a Spider-Man trailer into a whole movie. He just does a lot of Spider-Man stuff, and there's not a real plot to it, from what I can tell, or remember. Sorry, but anyway, again, it's a chance to show. Again, Peter, I guess, is a real hero because he's fixing these villains. That's the point of why he's doing this. He's more of a hero than Doctor Strange. But the thing is, that was never a real question. He was already a hero. Nobody thought he wasn't a hero, of course, apart from the tabloids or J. Jonah Jameson. But of course, we know that he actually is a hero, and he didn't murder Mysterio, and he's a good guy. So I don't think it's a character arc that was necessary, really. Like Aunt May's like, oh, you got to help these guys, Peter, and it's like, well, I guess it's good if he does, but like he's already a really good guy. Like he doesn't need to bounce back and prove to us anyway. He doesn't need to prove to the audience that he's a good guy or prove to himself that he's a good guy because we know he is. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, yeah, I do get you. Like basically, I mean, in general, I will say like the character arcs with with Tom Holland's Peter Parker are all over the place, and that's something you realize when you watch these films like sequentially, because it's like literally the first one is he wants to be an Avenger really badly and has to learn to just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then literally the next one is he just comes because it literally the next one is just he doesn't want to be an Avenger, and now he just wants to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and get Mary Jane. And in this film, kind of like I guess the character arc is maybe that he doesn't like the pressure. But it's like, there isn't really a character arc for this film, which kind of goes into
the character arc kind of changes. So initially it's like,
exactly,
I'm going to prove I can save these people because I am a hero, even though like we know he is. And then
exactly, yeah.
And then when Aunt May dies, it becomes you gotta not let these feelings of hatred control you, basically. And that then becomes his character arc in the second half of the movie, which we'll get into. But anyway, so before Peter can cure anyone else, his spider sense goes off. He realizes that the Goblin persona has retaken Osborn, who convinces the villains to betray Parker. So, what's he called? Electro betrays him, and also the dinosaur betrays him. Everyone betrays him. And Osborn, I think, is such a good character when he's been played by William Dafoe. And yeah, he's from the very first Spider-Man movie, still all these years later proving what great casting it was. And, he is the OG Spider-Man villain, so it makes sense he'd be the one to ruin everything. Like, if it's going to be someone, it's going to be him, to ruin things and almost fuck Peter. Well, indeed, he kills Aunt May, of course. So yeah. Anyway, so Dylan, Marco, and Connors escape. The Goblin fatally injures May before she dies. Okay, this is the moment which really annoyed me in this movie. So May tells Parker that with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
With great power must also come great responsibility. She doesn't quite say the Uncle Ben line. Yeah, just a little bit of a twist. But yeah, I got so mad when I saw this for the first time because here's the thing. Peter, in Tom Holland's Peter, is already using his powers with great responsibility. They just added that in because they needed to make her death impactful. Kind of like, Tobey Maguire's Peter. Like how that line was impactful for him when Uncle Ben died. And that was his mantra from then on. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm going to honor the words of my dead uncle. But here, Peter is already using his power responsibly. Like, he doesn't need to learn a lesson and become a hero. He's already a hero. So again, the line just does not work anywhere near the same level. And I guess, he feels vengeance and wants to kill the Green Goblin. And so he uses that Aunt May line, to bring him back from that. But yeah, it just is not the same as when Uncle Ben tells Tobey Maguire in the first Spider-Man, and they really try to replicate that. And like, no, you haven't got that right at all. It doesn't work anywhere near as well.
Again, it comes across like referential for an impactful moment, which is, you know, like a moment that's very sincere. To have something which feels like a meta moment is very dumb. And also, yeah, I agree with you that logically, it's almost like, again, I mean, it's part of that whole thing of his character arc in this film makes no sense all over the place, because, you know, that with great power comes great responsibility. I mean, that is, like you say, a very big thing to say, or a very kind of poignant thing to say in the first film.
It's already this Peter's mantra. He
already
believes it, yeah.
So yeah, I agree. Like, it's not so valid.
No, it isn't, and of course it feels forced. And what it also does, it takes away from the, I guess, the emotionality, if that is a word, I'm not sure, of Aunt May's death, Marissa Tomei dying. Because now I'm just thinking, oh fuck, that is a really forced line you threw in there. You know, that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, so.
Yeah, I also took away from it. I was like thinking the whole time, I was like, is she really going to die? Because I'm not going to lie, like with like Marvel, and you know, obviously there also has to be some degree.
They didn't want to pay Marissa Tomei anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's it. You just got to rely on the fact that she asked for too much money, because otherwise it's like with these multiverses and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh god, as long as it's not fucking like Spider-Man and entering the multiverse to save Aunt May for convoluted time logic, which I don't think they will do. But it's just annoying that that's even like something that has to be considered.
Yeah, why doesn't he ask Doctor Strange to do something? I don't know. But he doesn't have the time stone, as he says. So yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's important. It's like in Order of the Phoenix, when all of the time turners get destroyed.
Yeah.
Because they're in a magic vault that got exploded.
Yes, it is less shit than that. But anyway,
it is less shit. Yeah.
So Ned discovers that he can create portals using Strange's sling ring, which he and I don't know, that sounds like a sex toy. I'm not sure. Like,
I'd agree. Sling ring,
which he and MJ use to try and locate Parker. Okay, right, this is absolute horseshit, but whatever. Like, suddenly Ned has Doctor Strange powers. It's necessary for the movie, but yeah, it's just like, I guess that, you know, he's a comedic character, so therefore you can kind of get away with it, because it's like, hey, don't focus on this. He's just gonna, you know, be doing, you know, the time circles like the portals, and that's gonna be it. So don't worry. And I guess I can go with it. But yeah, of course, with the what you have established thus far, it doesn't make any sense. But whatever. Anyway, or just the odds of him being able to use this magic. You know, of all the people in all the world, it's Spider-Man's best friend. But whatever. Right. So they instead, MJ and Ned, they find alternate versions of Peter Parker from the villains' universes, who were summoned by Strange's spell and who are nicknamed Peter 2 and Peter 3. Okay, so we're going to talk about the reveals of the Spider-Men now. The Garfield reveal is great because it comes after the movie's lowest moments, when Aunt May has just died. So it's the right time to do it. You know, the old trope, you know, when all hope is lost, you know, it's everyone's feeling quite down. Oh, damn it, Aunt May's just died, and then all of a sudden, here is another Spider-Man coming in to save the day, you know. And of course it works because he knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man because he is Peter Parker. So it of course makes sense that he would also come into this universe, given the logic of the movie. So yeah, it's the perfect time for the reveal, wouldn't you say, Michael?
Yeah, I would. And also, you know, like, I feel like there's the aspect of, with the villains being there, you're like, well, I guess maybe the Spider-Men are there. Obviously, again, if you don't, I mean, I think people did know, but, you know, just imagine you didn't know. Like, it's kind of, it builds up to it. Like, it would be, I think, obviously a lot worse if you just had them right away.
Yeah, no.
So I think it's a good place in terms of the film.
It's the perfect time because you're not really thinking about it either. Because, like, Aunt May has just died, all these villains, you know, it's kind of at the back of your mind, even if you were expecting it. For them to show up, for Garfield and Maguire to show up, then it's great. And also, it's great the way MJ and Ned expect it to be their Peter. And of course it's not. That's another smart move. Because like, you really don't expect it until the last minute, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's...
Like, I mean, it's a logical way of, like, the fact he's like, oh, I need to see Peter Parker. Yes. Like, it's logical why he shows up.
Yeah, again, it all makes sense. It's all really perfectly done. They really nailed the introduction, which again was one of the key moments of this movie. Again, like, a character showing up in a movie, it isn't meant to be a key moment, because that's not great, you know, filmmaking, because you can just, you know, like, oh, what a great reveal, you know.
Yeah, that's the audience claps.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's a great idea to have them back in general, because it's a crowd pleasing move. Obviously, like, I imagine cinemas went wild when this happened, and the director knew this, of course, because there's kind of a pause when Garfield takes off his mask and when Tobey Maguire steps through the portal so the audience can cheer. But when you watch it on your own, it's less impactful, isn't it?
Yeah, I do agree. Like, there is, like, this film, it does have, like, that experience aspect to it.
There's just no awkward silence, especially when Maguire steps through. It's just like, there's nobody saying, okay, oh yeah, this is.
It's like a Big Bang Theory without the laugh track.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. Again, the fact that there are these pauses means that the director and everyone knows this is a theme park ride. But again, like I said before, that is fine, honestly, because some movies can be like that. And you know what? If you have specifically tailored your movie so that it can be enjoyed by audiences in a cinema more than when they're just watching at home on their own, then I have no problem with that either.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg will love it.
Yeah, I have no problem with that either, because that's where cinemas, or that's where movies, are meant to be viewed. Cinemas, that's when they're where they're at their best, and with a crowd that can enhance the experience potentially, if you like that sort of thing.
No, yeah. I think it's nice too.
Yeah.
You just have to set up like a kind of audience ambient soundtrack, just the soundboard, just so you can fill in the gaps.
Yes. So also the way Tobey Maguire comes in and is just so confident and calm, like he's the elder Spider-Man who's seen it all. I really like that. I think that's a good direction there. And also, the alternate Peters, they share their stories of losing loved ones and encourage Peter, or Tom Holland's Peter, to fight in May's honor. And the three Peters develop cures for the villains together. Again, it makes sense that they mentor him and help him overcome his pain. Yeah. It's kind of a late character arc, but it makes sense for Tom Holland's Peter. And yeah, I also like how Garfield's Spider-Man, he got rageful and bitter. That's what he says. Kind of implying there was a movie that we never got to see about him struggling with Gwen's death, which would have been interesting, I guess. Would have been interesting to see. Yeah,
I feel like this is the movie. You watch it and you're like, again, as someone who hasn't seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and my memory is The Amazing Spider-Man 1 was okay, I feel like if you watch this movie, you'd be like, oh man, this Amazing Spider-Man, this Andrew Garfield Spider-Man looks really, like, it would have been great.
I would say the best part of those Amazing Spider-Man movies was the relationship between Gwen and Peter.
I would agree, yes. I think, especially considering that, of course, the relationship, it's kind of actually when Toby makes a reference to the fact that he eventually settled down with MJ, and he's like, oh, it was up and down and all that. That was the relationship with MJ was the most annoying part of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. So
I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't know. I suppose maybe there's a few other.
I mean, it's part of it, like it's part of Spider-Man. But yeah, people really like the chemistry between Gwen, who of course is played by Emma Stone, and Andrew Garfield, and I think they were together in real life as well, which makes sense.
So I agree. Like, I think like it is really cool that they feed into, and at several points, like I think that's the thing they kind of lean on for the Andrew Garfield situation.
He's the best Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. I think out of the three, he shines the most. That's the thing. I think Tom Holland.
He's very charismatic.
Yes, and I think Tom Holland, ironically, like gets pushed to the back. Like he's the least, I guess, charismatic.
Well, that's the MCU. I think that's probably the curse of the MCU. Like the fact that being in the MCU means he can't have these as many good moments.
Yeah, I mean,
because he can't have like more personal moments.
Iron Man or Mysterio just dominate his movies previously, and now it's the other two Spider-Man who are both better than him. Like kind of.
Yeah. I actually that reminds me of something else I was going to say, which is like it's kind of crazy when you realize, and I suppose this is kind of with reference to something that's said later on, but like the moment where they're like, wait, the Avengers, and it's like crazy when you realize that obviously for Pete, Andrew Garfield and Toby, let's call them Andrew and Toby, they're like the only superheroes in their world, whereas like Tom Holland, he ain't shit. He's just like one of many, which I find funny.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, but anyway, I think speaking of Andrew Garfield, of course, this is why I think his character was so great. I think his performance is great. And I think, the advice he gives to Peter is good as well. And Maguire's is as well, but Garfield's more than that, because he has a kind of a character arc, because he talks about his pain when Gwen died. And yeah, of course, he manages to save Tom Holland's MJ, Zendaya, from a fall, which if you've seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is, that's how Gwen died.
I do know that she dies from a fall. I did know that, which is good.
I think many people, even though the movie was shit, that moment did hit them emotionally. Andrew Garfield almost saves her, just doesn't quite do it. It's a really good death scene, honestly. It's really well done. It's a pity everything else around it is shit. Like while he's saving her, he's battling like Electro, Jamie Foxx's Electro, who
well, also there is like a different Green Goblin in the second, which he doesn't show up at all.
Yeah, it's the shitty Green Goblin as well.
I feel so sorry for him. And the guy who plays him, as far as I know, is actually he's been a quite good actor in some other stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess he just played the really probably shittest villain.
It's just a mess of a movie, man. But that's the thing. People did. I think that is a very good moment when Gwen dies, and the fact that the writers recognize that and were like, you know what, let's give Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, let's give him that character arc and let's have him save MJ. And I think when he does that, it's such a fucking great moment, because when he wells up and it's like, she asks, are you okay? And she doesn't know what it means to him, but if you've seen the movie, you know. And I think just little moments like that, it's like they knew what they were doing, man. They really did get the most out of this premise, which is very admirable, which is why, again, it's such a fun movie. Also, we just want to talk about the again, this is talking about getting the most out of it, the banter between the Spider-Man. It's what you would expect, I guess. They're making use of this opportunity. They're joking about the Avengers, and I guess Tobey Maguire's natural web shooters, which again, by the way, that makes the most sense, as we've said before, right?
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous that somebody happened to get bitten by a radioactive spider who also had the technological capability to make magic web shooters. I will say, though, as a discredit to Toby, this does draw attention to the fact that he's not like a super genius I think they kind of make him more of a super genius in this film, but in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, he's just not like a super genius as he's really portrayed.
Well, he kind of is, though. Because he goes...
I can't really... Anyway.
He goes to New York, was it Columbia University, and his professors say he's an excellent student. So, yeah.
Maybe I just couldn't... Yeah, maybe... Because, I'm just thinking, obviously, Tom Holland is, constantly, inventing things, and he's supposed to be, a savant.
It's not as big a part of his character. That's the whole reason fucking Dr. Octopus takes Peter on.
Yeah, I suppose, actually, yes. He does, I guess he hangs out with a lot of scientists.
Yeah, because he's like, wow, you're brilliant. So, yeah, anyway, I guess maybe it's not emphasized as much because Sam Raimi wants him to be more of an everyman or, kind of character.
Yeah, he's more of a nice guy.
Yeah, but anyway, I think it is, in terms of the hype, again, I'm watching these Spider-Man scenes with all three of them together interacting, and they all have great chemistry. Again, Andrew Garfield is the key here. I think he makes it work the most. And, it's just it's very enjoyable. I think it's no surprise that audiences turned out for this movie and it grossed almost $2 billion. It is the best thing since Endgame, in terms of hype. It's the only way they could up the hype, We have taken not just characters from other movies in our universe, but characters from other universes, other franchises, a franchise that existed 20 years ago in the case of Tobey Maguire, and we put them in this movie. Again, it's not art and it's not great filmmaking, but whatever, that's fine.
No.
When they all suit up again and they're all swinging through the air, I think it's hard not to have a smile on your face, honestly. Those moments when Andrew Garfield shows up or Tobey Maguire shows up, or all the Spider-Man are swinging together and they all suit up, and it's like, oh god, the hype is up there. What about here's what I thought, and this would have just adds the hype overload, I guess. So Electro, what if he's overpowering them all with his electricity, which of course he has. What about, because of his electric powers, Miles Morales from another universe swoops in to save them, huh? Because he could do that because of his electric shit.
Oh my god! Wait, Miles Morales, he's animated.
No, he's not animated.
Oh, I was imagining a kind of reverse Roger Rabbit situation where it's an animated character in.
No, he's just wearing. The thing is, that's the thing. You don't need to cast an actor because he's just wearing his Spider-Man suit. But
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but obviously the audience would know who that is because of the Into the Spider-Verse, and I think he's a well-known character by now anyway.
Yeah.
And so again, because he can absorb electricity, he could save them from Electro. And that would be, in terms of the cherry on top right at the end, adding Miles Morales in. I don't know, I thought of that. Of course, maybe, would you think that would be going too far because you already have 3 Spider-Man? Is there a really need to add another?
Yeah, I think that's one of those situations where it would probably get a big reaction.
Yes.
But I think probably overall it would take away from what the film kind of had going up until that point in terms of feeling. Yeah.
This movie is full of those reaction moments. Those clapping moments, those applause moments, those theme park ride moments, and that would have been, another. That
would have been, people would have got pretty excited.
People would have gone crazy.
That would have been, the kids would have liked that more because they know the Spider-Verse one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know who else is in Spider-Verse? Spider-Gwen.
Yeah,
What if?
but she's a woman.
Yeah, so that would have. I feel like that would have confused things because it would have been like, Andrew Garfield would have been like, "Can I steal you? Can I take you back to my universe?"
No. The thing is, the crucial thing is Miles Morales is the equivalent to Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
like Spider-Gwen is not that. She is, of course, Gwen Stacy, who's...
So it's a no on Peter Porker saving the
Exactly,
day.
yeah. And I only thought of Miles Morales because of Electro, because of the electricity thing.
That does make sense.
That's when the idea came to me. But yeah, anyway, just, I wonder if the writers considered that or had that in their heads. I'm sure,
and they were like, "Oh, that's too far."
Yeah, maybe it was too far, or maybe they didn't just think of it, because I don't know. I imagine most people wouldn't have thought of that scenario, but yeah, would have been a cool moment potentially. But anyway, an enraged Peter, of course, tries to kill the Green Goblin. Garfield stops him, but Maguire stops him, doesn't he? But then gets stabbed by the Green Goblin. But he's okay.
He's got the whole situation with my back. But they didn't bring that back, even though he got stabbed. But I thought that was. I mean, in a way, like I was kind of like, good. I don't want any more melodrama. We already had May die.
Why stab him in the first place then? I don't know. It just seems unnecessary.
Yeah, I think like it would have made more. I don't know. I guess like he had to be incapacitated in some way so that obviously he wouldn't be able to stop Tom Holland doing his thing or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so Peter 1 injects the Goblin with his cure, restoring Osborn's sanity. So yeah, he overcomes his rage with the help of the other Spider-Man, and he listens to what Aunt May said. With great power comes great responsibility. You have to be a hero, all of that stuff. Which again, he already was before that, but whatever. I guess it's a fine, like kind of okay character arc. So anyway, Peter 1 realizes that the only way to protect the multiverse is to erase himself from everyone's memory. This is Tom Holland, of course, and requests Strange to do it, while promising MJ and Ned that he will find them again. So later he visits MJ to reintroduce himself and Ned, but decides against it. Of course, it's a nice idea, but I'm like, what of all the video footage of him and all the news stories? Is that erased? I guess all of that's gone.
Yeah. Actually, to be fair, I thought what it kind of reminds me of in Frozen when like in order to cure like the magic illness, they have to erase all the memories of magic. Do you remember that scene? It's like, I propose that we erase even memories of magic. It's like, well, why do you need that? I feel like for some reason, whenever like erasing memories is presented as a cure to a problem in a movie, there's always some like you're just stuff like, but why? Or like, how, which is obviously the question here, like obviously with all this stuff, and yeah, also I don't really get like how this is a bit weird, but he says like I want people to forget that I am Spider-Man, but they seem to forget they forget who Peter Parker is. Like surely what it would have been is they would have remembered who Peter Parker is, but just not remembered who's Spider-Man. But whatever.
He just wants to erase himself from everyone's memories. Maybe that's easier. Maybe that's the only thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Like just go overboard without any stipulations. Maybe that makes the spell easier. I'm not sure if that's explained.
Yeah.
But that seems to logically kind of make sense. But anyway, so while mourning at May's grave, he has a conversation with Hogan, and he is inspired to carry on making a new suit and resuming his vigilantism. And again, I like the ending because, again, he has to sacrifice himself to save his loved ones, which is, I guess, I think it's the very nature of Spider-Man in general, the double identity, because he has to sacrifice his life to basically be Spider-Man. And that means, he could also be Spider-Man and Peter, but that would mean, of course, endangering his loved ones, which he doesn't want to do. So yeah, I think it's a nice ending, but again, it does perhaps go back to the old thing of, Spider-Man, he can't have both. He can't have a normal life, and he can't also be Spider-Man, but I guess this is a new nice twist on things, I guess, on that trope.
The fact that you just, his character arc doesn't really have a direction in this film, so it's like, obviously, him giving up his personal life and his personal connections to, I guess, keep being Spider-Man and, ignore the fact that he doesn't know, he's not going to know MJ. Like, that's not building on anything. So, it's a decision that kind of makes sense, but the fact it makes sense is kind of a problem because it speaks to the fact that it's almost like any action he could have taken would make sense because we don't really know what his priorities are at this point because they're all over the place.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, let's conclude, Michael. I'll go first now because you just spoke for a bit. So, I think this movie is quite a fun movie. It's quite a good time. I think, again, they really have said nailed so many times, but they perfected. Let's say that they perfected those moments which needed to be perfected. Which again was the reason why everybody went to this movie. It's not a great movie. There are some issues with the plot, especially the setup to get all these villains and Spider-Man in the movie. But yeah, like it's a hell of a ride, hell of a fun time. I think I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. And that's quite high for a superhero movie.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think this movie has earned stats because I would rather watch this than 95% of Marvel movies and DC movies as well. So yeah, that's what it gets out of 10 from me. What about you?
It is basically the big thing to credit it with is that it's very entertaining with all that stuff going on, the whole thing of everyone showing up, and that's great. The kind of funny thing is that obviously it introduces, Toby and Garfield, and you have like this whole element of remembering their personal situations going on and all that kind of stuff, and it makes you really nostalgic for those movies. And it's almost like watching this movie, I mentioned how it would probably leave people thinking, oh man, this amazing Spider-Man that Garfield's in, I'm sure those must have been great movies. But in a way, like, the funny thing is, even though I haven't seen them, I bet on like some level they had a certain thing which obviously Marvel doesn't, which is it was just about this guy, and he didn't have to worry about like Tony Stark and whether or not he should be a member of the Avengers and going into space to fight, all that kind of stuff. So it harkened back to this kind of nicer, quainter movies that we used to have before the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe thing, which kind of added something to the film, while simultaneously, ironically, this, the entire fact that this whole film happened is because of the expansiveness of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is exactly why we don't get stories like that. So this whole film is like an enigma wrapped in a contradiction. I am actually just going to agree with you and give it a middling 7.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, that makes sense.
No, I liked your summary, but again, you weren't really talking about how good the movie was, but yeah. No, I do think you made a good point. But anyway, so Rotten Tomatoes receipts now. Let's go through them. So first off, Michael, Fast X. Remember that movie?
Oh, yeah.
We reviewed it a couple of weeks ago. It's been out for a while now in the cinemas. And you thought it would get 72 on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought it would get 63. It ended up getting 54%, which I think is the lowest ever, or one of the lowest. So yeah, that franchise, yeah, it's not looking good, honestly. Which meant you were 18 off and I was 9 off. Which means, of course, that you now are on 43 points because you had 25 plus 18 is 43, and I am on 40 because I had 31 plus 9 equals 40. So I am now winning by 3, Michael. How does that feel?
I think it's good because I think it's nice to have a little bit of kind of twists and turns. It would have been boring if I was winning the whole time.
Okay, that's good. Well,
and it'll be interesting to see how, because obviously we're getting 2 receipts, I assume, 2 lots of receipts.
Oh, yes, we are. So I was like, yes. How does it feel being down by 3, Michael? Well,
yeah.
Let's do the Little Mermaid. So you thought it'd get 50 on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought it'd get 71 on Rotten Tomatoes. The correct answer, so far at least, and this is the score we're going to stick on, it got 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Little Mermaid, which means you are 20 off and I am 1 off. And I was like, maybe I've gone too far here. Maybe I thought it would be too good, but apparently not, which means you get a massive score of 20 added to your score, which means you are now on 63, because you were on 43 plus 20, 63, and I was on 40, but I only get 1 added because I was only 1 off, so that means I'm on 41, which now means I am winning by 22. I have blown this thing wide open, Michael.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm going to have to guess at least 22 away from what I assume you'll guess for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's the only solution.
Well, no, obviously we've also got other movies coming up. It's far from over. But yeah, I currently have a healthy lead. The biggest lead up until now has been 6. Now I'm leading by.
Yeah, you are really... I guess you're going to have to rethink your racism because Little Mermaid really pulled through for you.
Hey, and that was never racist. Come on. No. So now it's time to guess Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, what it's going to get on Rotten Tomatoes. So you've got a number in your head, Michael. 3, 2, 1, 90.
91. What did you say?
90.
Okay, so there's literally 1 in it.
Yeah,
okay.
because the first one got 97, so this one's probably going to do very well. What are we reviewing in a couple of weeks' time?
In a couple of weeks' time, we are reviewing The Truman Show.
Yes.
I don't know if I can relate that to this one. But it's a thing.
Because of its...
I guess it's kind of meta.
Yeah, I guess so, because of its 25-year anniversary. So yeah, join us in a couple of weeks for The Truman Show. We've been selecting and reflecting on the best theme park ride ever, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes.
And yeah, we enjoyed it. What can we say? So see you in a couple of weeks for The Truman Show. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.